everybody, Edo here, and this is the Red Dragon in Battle for Greyport. The good folks at SlugFest Games sent me a copy, and this was designed by Nate Heiss, Sam Waller, Jeff Morrow, with art from Aaron Wong, Megan Langan, Drew Morrow, Cold Fusion Studios, and Beth Trotz. First and foremost, this game is nothing like Red Dragon Inn. Do know that characters, themes, fiction, narrative, all of that fits. But this isn't a pub game. This is a cooperative deck builder, well, they have lots of cards like Red Dragon Inn, but lots of mechanics, lots of things going on, sort of, the name of it loses me, but that cooperative, competitive anime, like the deck builder game. Anyway, I'll remember it eventually. But yeah, just take first and foremost. This is a serious mid-weight game that certainly takes some time to get into. Like, this is a pretty thick rule book, and I wanted to pull this out and show you. Has this great box with all of the dividers and all the sections for the chits and the cards. Setting this up takes some time. Like, it doesn't come like this. You got to open them and sort them and all that stuff. But once you have it all in here, it's awesome, and it really does help. The decks in this game are actually a little like the Siblings Trouble, where you've got a variety of enemies and regions and locations and things to go to. So you're going to be setting up your adventure to begin, and then get going. The other thing I'll say about this, I think, what do they say? It's a cooperative deck building game. And, you know, it clearly looks like an adventure game, but this is really a combat game. And look, this game's a lot of fun. We enjoyed it a number of times, but it's combat, cooperative combat. Now, what's really awesome about this game, and I'll go over the mechanics a little bit, but one, super solid mechanics, really interesting play between characters and creatures, but most importantly, the thing that they nailed in this game is combat just drives players towards being cooperative. You really need to assist and play with other people off turn. Basically, you have your hand, and if you play, you refill it at the end of your turn, but if you play off turn, you don't refill that for when you get back to your turn. And everyone's cards can effectively be played on their turn or somebody else's turn. So you really got to think about the sequence of action. And it's super cool, and it's really well balanced. I highly recommend this in regards to, like, throw down, you know, beat up some mobs, beat up some creatures type of game. It totally works in that regard. But it's not really about storytelling or adventure. It's just about combat. It does it well. So there's a variety of adventures. This is the sort of tutorial adventure, but there's like a whole stack of these in there. And you have a setup card, and based on the setup card, you know, your location has a certain amount of hit points. You know, you determine how many guys you're going to put out at the location with these numbers, and I'll talk about them in a little bit. You're going to determine how many hit points the boss has, how many guys are in front of each player, and all of that. Also, you then see what location you're going to use, and actually, this is the city here. You're gonna Greyport City Hall. You're gonna see what kinds of creatures you're going to use, as well as the currency you're going to start with. And so essentially, you have a setup piece that you're going to start with, and then a location. And so these will be set up, and at the location, it's going to have a certain amount of hit points, enemies at the location, and then enemies in front of each player, as I mentioned. Now, what's really neat is each little deck, there are a lot of icons, but they all have little, so they all have set icons, right, for the, like, first one of many. This is clearly expansion, you know, assuming a lot of expansions, but there are, like, different types of creatures. There's beasts, there's the beasts, undead, demons, you know, like crazies, like all sorts of abominations or whatever, all sorts of different sets of creatures, and the creatures are going to start getting... so you start with one deck of creatures, but then as you go further into different locations, they can start adding up, and it works really well. A typical creature has a damage, it has hit points, and an ability. And there's like ambush and tank, and like, you know, for range, and all the standard stuff, but really well balanced. But so basically, you have the creatures in front of you. You as a hero have hit points. Everyone's their own hero. you start with these 3 hero cards, which are big versions of you, and they're great. You have different abilities. You can always taunt and pull creatures for you. Actually, there's a turn marker that lets everyone do that once to move mobs around, and that's a big part of this game. You have certain dice you can roll. But basically, you have these guys and then your hand. And it's a deck building game, so I'm going to start with my basic hand. I think you move out, you sort of trash 3 cards, and then you have your 5-card hand, and you have your deck. And so as you're playing, as a deck builder, there's going to be a shop, and the shop is going to be full of items, which are magical items in blue, physical items in red, of different values. It's really easy. There's copper, silver, and gold coins, so it's pretty easy to buy different things and understand their sort of tiered of value. And then there's a whole bunch of heroes that you can buy and bring to your deck. And as you play, you start buying into your deck, or into your hand, discarding to your deck, and building it up. It's nice that you get to use what you buy. You don't buy it for your deck, you buy it for your hand, which is cool. And then over time, it's just getting better and better and better. You have cards that have abilities that let you discard, and your typical deck builder stuff. But it moves, and again, on your turn, you can only play 1 hero, unless you have a special card or something. But you can play your hero, these guys, or just like one of these other heroes, like the Acolyte or the Soldier, and you could equip them with gear. But everything you play gets wiped at the end of your turn. So you're really sort of it's not like Magic or something. You're like putting out what you're going to do. You're going to attack, it's going to wipe, and you start again. But then other players can play into that too. And you can attack with all your heroes. You can only just cast 1. So other players are adding to your onslaught. And so you attack. And again, the way enemies tank, the way enemies work together, the way you can cleave and taunt, and all of that stuff is all totally here. So you got to sit down and learn it. I mean, there's a lot to go over. I'm not going to teach you how to play this game. You need to know it. Very cool game, really well balanced. Takes a little time to get up and rolling, and not a pub game. So, but quick, but still pretty quick. I think it says here 20 to 30 minutes per player. I'd even say if you're know what you're doing, it's like 15, 20 minutes per player. Depends on how many locations you do and how long you survive. So anyway, worth checking out. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.